What's the cringiest thing you've seen a bride and groom do for their wedding? Long ago I worked at a banquet hall and witnessed a fully NASCAR themed wedding. During the reception they played the audio of the proposal going out over the PA at the track. It was fully unintelligible. BZZ bag mrrry mesruam. Other highlights were the owner locking himself in his office to avoid the bride's father because he was threatening him to haggle out the costs. In the end we had to call the police because the bride in gown climbed over the bar to steal more sweet MGD after we had closed the taps and the event was over. I'm in the wedding industry. I've been to over 3,000 weddings. The singing your vows thing is never ever going to work out like you think it will. Never sing your vows. Never attempt to sing any part of your wedding. It will not go as you visualized it. A wedding day is not a good time for surprises. Don't surprise your bride with an unexpected part of the ceremony. Don't surprise your mom by the wedding itself. True story. The bride told her mom she was going to an engagement dinner. The only exception to this rule is if you give the bride a surprise addition to her ring grandma's diamond, a ring made from her parents' rings, etc. Jokes about sex later are never funny. They make people uncomfortable, and it makes you look like an adolescent. There will always be crickets after you make the joke. If you are going to be late, communicate that to everyone somehow. Have your so, or your parents, or someone tell everyone you will be late. The staff needs to know, especially if you forget the rings. Don't stress it. It's a funny story. If you forget your vows, wing it as best you can, just don't sing. Ask the officiant for help for last minute vows. Finally, don't get drunk and be an ass. You don't want to be that guy. Plus, if you are drunk, you won't be able to have sex later. Crickets. In-laws wedding, and groom and all groomsmen were wearing a tux and a ball cap. The groom had a dip of tobacco in during the wedding, and I shit you not, his groom's cake was designed like a Copenhagen can. I was a photographer for a wedding where the bride was marrying a man with 2 kids from a previous relationship. I was in the bridal suite when the bridal party was getting ready and all of the bridesmaids had matching silk robes. The flower girl groom's daughter was there too. They asked me to take a group photo of the bridal party, and one of the women in a silk robe was standing awkwardly to the side. I thought she was just shy or something, so I waved her into the photo and the room got dead silent and the bride was like, oh no, we don't want her in the photos, and glared at me like I should have known that. Apparently she was the groom's ex-wife and was there to take care of the flower girl, but why did you give her a matching bridesmaid robe? I wanted to crawl in a hole and die. At my cousin's wedding, they did the thing where the groom removes the bride's garter and tosses it to all the single guys. I guess none of the guys wanted to be next to be married, because once the groom tossed the garter, no one grabbed it. It just landed on the ground a few feet in front of a crowd of motionless guys. The groom tossed the garter 3 times before one guy half-heartedly picked it off the ground. The bride wouldn't look at any of those guys for the rest of the night. My uncle not only brought up his daughter's ex-boyfriend in his speech, but talked about their toxic relationship for a solid 5 minutes. I highly recommend preparing a speech before talking in front of a room full of people. Not the couple. The pastor kept saying our Heavenly Father, Daddy God, while marrying them. Oh, let's see. Groom changed who his best man was and didn't tell the original BM until the start of the ceremony. Bridegroom asked a guest to bartend the reception at the reception. Groom dirty danced with his stepmom full hands on ass. Bridegroom hauled their wedding party up to do a choreographed dance to Meatloaf's Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, but didn't give them any pre-warning or teach them the dance. That song is 8.5 minutes long. Wedding was at a scenic boarding school campus during the summer. Guests were told dormitories were complimentary to stay in. Guests were not told there would be no bedding provided or AC in the building. Groom later reviled everyone who stayed in a dorm asking for money. Same bridegroom chose another friend's wedding reception as the right setting to yell at a third pair of mutual friends for not including them in their wedding party. Requiring every attendee to bring a date because she didn't want sad, lonely people on her day. Not my friends luckily, but pretended to be a friend's date because she really wanted to see her cousin get married. Potluck wedding with no alcohol or music. Groom kept showing people his flask and bragging about it. Macaroni was only redeemable thing. When I went to scoop there was hair in it. Very sad. At the reception, the groom and his groomsmen sung a god-awful a cappella version of Stand By Me. The worst part was he wasn't even singing it to his wife. He was singing it to his mum. Oh darling, darling, stand by me. Chinese weddings, man. I don't know, but one of my favorite memories from years of cater waitering was this long Indian wedding where they had a lot of random relatives get up to give a toast. Everyone's giving these long speeches, and then one uncle gets up, goes I made him waffles once, and sits back down. I swear to God. Bless that man, wherever he is. Toasts in general are usually terrible and full of cringe. Just keep it short, sweet, and genuine. No one wants 15 minutes of inside jokes that are embarrassing and don't make sense. Dated a girl in my 20s and went to her friend's wedding in upstate New York. In the middle of the service the minister's cell phone rang. He answered. It was God. God wanted to talk to the groom. Conversation lasted a couple minutes. Then the ceremony continued. This happened right before our wedding. We were set to have my now husband's family friend that's a pastor be our officiant. I'm not religious whatsoever, but open to anything. My husband's late mother was a Sunday school teacher, and so his family is pretty religious. Anyway, we went to the pastor's house to go over our wedding plans and everything, and he asked me if I was going to center my marriage around God. The answer was no. It got awkward real fast. It became a back and forth as to why I won't accept Jesus and how awful that is. He didn't like it either. We were getting married at a country club. He then refused to do the wedding. We scrambled and found our town's mayor to marry us. I made my own ceremony and wrote the whole thing from scratch. Then the day of the wedding the mayor mentioned her recent back surgery and just wanted to get this over with. She called my husband Eric multiple times. His name is Evan, and she was high on painkillers, so she went off script there for a bit. Have you ever watched I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry? Yeah, she did the whole marriage as a circle script. It took everything we had not to die laughing. And that pastor, he showed up and watched the whole thing go down. We got a picture with him at our wedding. Him and his wife cropped us out of it, and he made it his profile picture. The minister or pastor used to date the bride and gushed about how wonderful she was. Told the groom if he ever died not to worry, he'd take care of her. I was shell-shocked. I so wished I could think of a reason to ask the couple for a copy of the video of their wedding, but couldn't quite find a legit one. I wasn't a guest. I was working the wedding. The bride got drunk and sat on some other dude's lap for 2 hours and flirted with him while the groom sat by himself at the head table with a defeated look on his face. This might be the most depressing one yet. Speeches. My God. The speeches. Here's the backstory. The reception was scheduled for right after the ceremony, but at a different location. We couldn't eat until the wedding party got there. They showed up 2 hours late because they were cruising around on the party bus and drinking. After showing up they decided to do the speeches before dinner. Speeches from the best man, the maid of honor, a few parents and random people. I've never listened to so much boring crap. It took more than an hour to get through them all. So basically everyone sat around with no music and no food for 3 hours. The bar wouldn't open either, so we had only water to drink. Nearly everyone, including me, left after eating. It was disrespectful to their guests. I worked as a wedding videographer. This is the only Bridezilla I encountered in 10 years. This girl was so self-centered she kept everyone waiting at her outdoor ceremony for more than an hour while she was pampered in the makeup chair. While she's having them redo this and touch up that, she's sort of making up her wedding vows in a very relaxed, casual manner, completely inappropriate for the 100 people sweating under full summer sun waiting on her. Her aunt came in and very gently reminded her people were waiting on her and that it's been more than an hour, and she threw a tantrum, screaming, I feel like everyone's forgetting this is my day. Eventually she comes out. Vows are lame and borderline incoherent. And one of the groomsmen, sweltering undercoat and vest and shirt and sun, passes out from heat exhaustion. The officiant whispers to ask the couple if they should stop and make sure he's okay, and she goes, "No a-hole here. He's just being dramatic. Keep going." As the couple is headed back up the aisle, an ambulance can be seen arriving to tend to the poor overheated groomsmen. Not wedding but engagement ceremony. They reenacted a scene from an old romantic film about two lovers in 1800s in front of like 300 people. This was Marizo, the bride's family, one of my first classmates. To get married we were 19, had a small reception. Mostly family and friends from high school, nothing wrong with that. They decided to auction off the garter belt, and whoever won took it off the bride. Most of us were poor college students, so the only people bidding were her dad and uncles. It was super uncomfortable. Edit: I did not expect this reaction. So to answer the most common questions, the bride's very drunk dad won to the tune of 500 plus money grabbed by the couple to help with honeymoon expenses. This was not Alabama, North Dakota, and this was not the normal garter tradition by any means. Just a particularly cringe-worthy version of an already cringy tradition. They sang their vows to each other. Neither had a singing voice. Vows were generally batshit crazy, like submissive in the bedroom, and not asking about where she was going. The auto-tune microphones were a terrible idea. Their vow songs shared a chorus, and it was awful, and they expected the guests to sing along with the chorus. The vows singing lasted 20 minutes. Pure cringe. My friend got pregnant at 20 with a piece of shit guy, so they got married. It was me, our friend, her mom, and then just the two of them. They got married in some random lady's house. We sat on computer chairs in a small living room with the lady's dogs sniffing us and barking. The whole thing lasted maybe 5 or 10 minutes. After we proceeded to take wedding pictures in the parking lot of a dollar store, and then we got McDonald's. I made a little bouquet out of some ferns and leaves that were in the McDonald's parking lot. She threw the bouquet, and it ended up getting run over by someone going to the drive-thru. LOL. Needless to say, it was a trashy affair and their marriage didn't last long. When I was 11, my cousin got married for the third time. I never really liked her because A, she was 37 when I was 11. We didn't have a lot in common, and B, she was pretty full of herself. The wedding itself was fine. Pretty boring but fine. Then we get to the reception. We were told we had to sit down as soon as we got there. Some people found it weird, but I've only been to one other wedding before this. Her other marriages were when I was little. No kids were allowed at her weddings, so I didn't think anything of it. The bride and groom then make a huge dramatic entrance and everyone awkwardly clapped for them as they strutted around the room with actual crowns on their heads. The bride then gets the microphone and hands it to her mom and asks her to say something she loves about the bride. She then tells her mom to pass it on and says she wants everyone in the room to say one thing they absolutely love about the bride. Not the bride and groom, not their relationship, just the bride herself. It was super awkward. Edit: this blew up a lot more than I thought it would. LOL. So for everyone asking, what did you say? And where is she now? I said your Aisha is pretty, because I felt so awkward and wanted to die. My older brother said pass, which made her force a fake laugh and urge him to say something. He ignored it and she kept insisting, so he said your parents and passed the mic on. She and husband 3 divorced a few months later because he was caught cheating with an 18-year-old still in high school. He gave off bad pedo vibes to the point where even strangers noticed and wanted kids to stay away from him. She married another guy a few years later and they are still together. Bonus: she likes to take pictures with a life-size cute out of Trump and post it on Facebook because she, her mom, and sister believe it looks so real. Nope. And she even pretends she's being caught cheating on husband 4 with cute out, posting pictures of her kissing it or it in her room with a caption like oops, caught with my side piece or some cringe like that. Husband is also a hard Trump supporter, so he laughs about it, but her daughter from marriage 2 deleted her from Facebook and often stays with her dad because she can't stand her mom anymore. It's a tie between my sister breaking her knee seriously at her own wedding dancing to the Cotton Eye Joe and my stepsister having her reception at an honest to god truck stop while 6 months pregnant. In her defense, the food was good, but wow was it weird walking through a gas station in formal wear. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit universe,